I wasn't supposed to be alive. That's the first thought that hit me when I opened the envelope. A thin, creased sheet of paper inside. No return address, just my name, David Keller, scrawled in shaky block letters. Postmarked from a town I hadn't been to in 20 years. Millstone Creek, Missouri. I sat at the kitchen table, morning coffee gone cold in front of me. The radio murmured something about a local car crash, but I wasn't listening anymore. My fingers trembled as I unfolded the paper. It said, "You're the last one left. You were never supposed to talk. You need to come back. We remember everything. Room 12, Tuesday, midnight." No signature. I dropped the paper like it burned. I hadn't seen or heard anything from Millstone Creek since the summer of 2005, the summer 4 of us did something that should have never been done. The others were gone. Tommy was found dead in the river in '09. Angela overdosed in a motel in Colorado. Marcus, Marcus. His body was never found, but the blood in his car told the whole story. And me? I'd vanished from that life, changed my name for a while, grew a beard, moved to Chicago. Married, divorced, then drifted alone in the city where nobody asked questions. But now someone knew. At 3 p.m. I stood in front of my mirror, trying to convince myself that this was a bad dream, that the letter wasn't real, that room 12 didn't mean anything. But I couldn't lie to myself. I knew exactly what room 12 was. It was in the old Whitaker Motel, off Route 61, just outside Millstone Creek. We used to go there to drink, smoke, mess around. That room, that was where we buried it, or at least tried to. A knock at the door made me flinch. Mailman, another envelope, this time blank. Inside was a photo, a blurry image of a motel door, room 12, with something new carved into the wood. He's waiting. I booked a one-way train ticket that night. The train ride to Missouri took 11 hours. I didn't sleep. My thoughts were a blender. Memories I had tried to suppress for 2 decades now spilled out like rot. Tommy screaming, Marcus digging, Angela whispering that she'd seen something move. That night, that awful night. Millstone Creek hadn't changed. Same rusted gas station, same empty diner with a crooked open sign, and the same motel, now more a skeleton than a structure. Its paint peeled, the parking lot cracked, the neon sign flickering. Whitaker Motel, room 12. I walked across the lot, my boots crunching gravel. There was a key waiting on the doormat, a note stuck to the knob. Midnight, don't be late. It was 11:04 p.m. I sat in the room, lights off, staring at the faded wallpaper. The room smelled of mold and wet carpet, a faint buzzing from the flickering ceiling light.
The knock was soft. 3 taps, spaced out, deliberate. I froze. My hand hovered over the doorknob like it had a mind of its own. Every instinct screamed not to open it, but I did anyway. The hallway was empty. No footsteps, no shadows, just that smell again, like rain and rust and something rotting beneath the floorboards. But as I was about to shut the door, I saw it. An envelope. Same shaky handwriting as before. Inside was a Polaroid. 4 teenagers in a motel room. United States. Tommy grinning like an idiot. Angela throwing up peace signs. Marcus with a bottle in hand. Me in the corner, half smiling. The back of the photo had a fresh smear of something dark. Blood? Number ink. A message. We remember what you did. I didn't sleep that night. Not even with the chair jammed under the doorknob. I stared at the cracks in the ceiling and tried to remember every detail of that summer. The bonfires, the drinks, the stories we swore were real but probably weren't. Until that night, the one that changed everything. We were 17, stupid, high. Angela said she saw something in the woods behind the motel, a man, pale and naked, standing between the trees. She swore he didn't blink, didn't move, just watched. Tommy went to investigate. He came back, screaming, bleeding from his arm. Said he'd been bitten. But no animal made a wound like that. That night, Marcus dragged something into room 12. Something wrapped in a tarp, breathing shallow, twitching. We never told anyone. We just made it go away, buried it beneath the floorboards. The next day, Tommy acted like nothing happened. But he wasn't the same. None of us were. And now, someone knew. At dawn, I left the room. I needed answers. I needed to know who sent those letters, who wanted me back here. There were no cameras at the motel. The front office was boarded up, but there was one place I could go. Sheriff Dalton. He was still alive, still in town, still with that same pissed-off glare and jaw like a cinder block. "You got a lot of nerve, Keller," he said when I showed up at his door. "I need your help." He didn't open the screen door, just stood there, arms crossed. "They're coming back," I said. "I think they want me dead." He tilted his head. "They? I don't know. Something. Someone. It's about that summer." Dalton's face went pale. "Room 12?" he asked. I nodded. He stepped outside, pulled a cigarette from his pocket, and lit it with shaking fingers. "You're not the first to come back asking about that room," he said, "but you might be the last." Back in the motel, the door to room 12 was ajar. I hadn't left it that way. On the bed was another envelope. Inside, a cassette tape. No label. Just one word etched into the plastic in deep red marker. Confess. I found an old tape recorder in the drawer. I hit play. First, static. Then, Angela's voice. I didn't want to be part of this. I told them it wasn't human, but they laughed. We buried it anyway. If you're hearing this, I'm probably dead. But it never left. It's still down there, watching, waiting. Then, a final whisper, barely audible. "It knows your name, David." I dropped the recorder. It clattered against the floor, tape still spinning. Angela's voice looped in my head. "It knows your name, David." The air in the room turned thick, like breathing through a wet cloth. Every instinct screamed, "Leave now." But I didn't, because something else was calling me, not with sound, but with memory. I pulled up the old rug. The floor beneath was warped. Water damage? Number rot? Black and slick like oil. I pried up a board, and there it was, the trap door. I hadn't seen it since we buried that thing. We nailed it shut, poured bleach and prayers over it. But now the nails were gone. I gripped the metal ring and lifted. The smell hit me first, raw, wet earth, mold, and something else, like burnt hair and copper. A wooden ladder descended into the dark. I climbed down. The basement was larger than I remembered, much larger. There were marks on the walls, carvings in the wood, symbols, circles, spirals that bent inward like they were swallowing themselves. In the center, a cot, chains, claw marks in the concrete, and a mirror. Old, cracked, but untouched by time. I stepped forward and saw myself, except it wasn't me. The reflection smiled. I didn't. It raised its hand. I didn't. Then it mouthed words I couldn't hear, but I knew what it said. "You left me here." I stumbled back, tripped over a chain, and hit the floor. That's when I saw the hole. In the far corner. A tunnel, dug out with fingernails and rage, leading into blackness. From deep within, something breathed, then it moved. I scrambled up the ladder, slammed the trapdoor shut, and shoved the bed over it. My hands shook. My legs nearly gave out. But then I saw it. On the wall, someone had written, no, carved, 3 words into the wood. "You buried me." I fled room 12, ran straight to Sheriff Dalton's house, burst in without knocking. He didn't yell, he didn't curse, he was already packing. "You saw it?" he asked. I nodded. "How long since the last knock?" "Hours," I said. He lit another cigarette. "They don't knock twice." We drove out to the old quarry, where Angela's body had been found years ago, or at least what was left of it. They said she drowned, but she didn't. She ran. From the motel. From what was under it. They always come back, Dalton said. One by one, to confess, to be judged. By what? He didn't answer, but I saw it in his eyes. Something had taken root in that basement, something we'd fed with fear and silence, and it wasn't done yet. That night, I couldn't sleep. Again. I kept the lights on, checked every lock, pushed furniture against the door. At 3:13 a.m., I heard it. Not a knock. A whisper. From inside the room. David? I turned. The mirror on the motel dresser was fogged from the inside, and in the condensation, someone had written. By morning, I knew two things. One, I could no longer pretend this was just in my head. Second, room 12 wasn't finished with me. I left the motel, packed everything into my truck, turned the keys in at the front desk. Didn't say goodbye, but as I drove out of town, the gas light came on. Of course. The needle dipped below E halfway down Route 6 in the middle of nowhere. I pulled off near a rusty diner I hadn't seen before. Looked like it hadn't served a customer since the 70s. I stepped inside. The bell above the door didn't ring. There was a man sitting at the counter, old, skin like parchment. He didn't look up, just stirred his coffee. I sat down 2 stools away. Pump out back still work? He nodded once. Then he said, without turning, You came from the motel. I froze. What motel? You know which? He tapped his spoon against the cup. Room 12, he whispered. I hadn't said a word about the number, not one. I stood to leave, but the door wouldn't open. I tugged, yanked, slammed my shoulder against it. The man just kept stirring. I turned to him. What is that place? What's under it? He smiled, a sad, tired smile. Then he said something I'll never forget. Some doors aren't meant to be locked. They're meant to be watched. I made it back to town by nightfall. I didn't mean to. My hands just kept driving. My mind wandered. And somehow, when I came to, the motel was in front of me, lit up like it was waiting. Room 12's window glowed. I should have kept driving. I didn't. Inside, the room was the same, but different. Furniture cleaner, air still, no smell, like it had been scrubbed down with bleach and silence. There was a single note on the bed. The mirror sees more than you do. I turned to the dresser. It was still fogged from the inside. This time, new words had appeared. Beneath, below, behind. I smashed the mirror. Glass rained down like snow, but there was no wall behind it, just empty space. A tunnel. Again. Only this one hadn't been there before. Fresh wood. Damp earth. A whisper drifted out. David, come see. I know what you're thinking. I should have run. But there's a sickness in us, all of us, that whispers back when something calls our name. I stepped inside, and the wall closed behind me. The tunnel was narrower than it looked. I had to duck, then crawl. The dirt pressed in from every side. Roots snagged my shirt. There was no light behind me anymore. Only forward, and the whispers. They didn't echo. They breathed. David. He left us. He watches still. The further I went, the less the air tasted like air. It was wet, warm, like exhaling into lungs that weren't mine. After what felt like an hour, the tunnel opened into a small wooden chamber. Candlelight flickered, but there were no candles. The room pulsed. Wooden walls, no seams, no corners, like it was grown, not built. And in the center, the chair. Same one from room 12's basement, but cleaner, newer, waiting. And beside it, another mirror, not cracked this time. It showed me a room I didn't recognize until I saw myself walk into frame. I was back in the motel, back in the room, back in bed, sleeping. But I wasn't there. I was here. I touched the mirror, and everything went black. I woke on the floor of room 12, sweating, shaking, alone. The door was wide open. So was the window. Outside, the world was dead silent. Not dark, silent. No wind, no insects, no cars, no motel sign buzzing. I stepped out and saw the sky had turned the color of bruised flesh. Then I noticed the guests, all of them, standing still in the parking lot. Every room door open behind them. They stared at me, not blankly, not angry, just watching. Angela was among them. So was Sheriff Dalton. Even the old man from the diner. I opened my mouth to speak, but they all whispered in unison. He knows now. I backed up, into room 12, and the door slammed shut. The lights burst, the bed caught fire, and from beneath the floorboards came the sound of someone laughing. Not a deep voice, not monstrous. It was me, laughing. I tore the rug back again. The trapdoor was gone, but something knocked from under the floor. Once, twice, then silence. And then a child's voice. Familiar. Too familiar. David, why didn't you help us? The room began to collapse. Not physically, conceptually. Walls stretched, angles bent inward. The ceiling rose like a mouth opening to scream. I covered my ears. But the sound was inside me. A scream without end. A scream in my blood. And then it stopped. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing in the motel lobby. Daylight outside. A key in my hand. Room 12. Like nothing had ever happened. The woman behind the desk looked up, smiled. "Welcome, Mr. Langston. Checking in again?" I stood there in the lobby, frozen. The woman behind the counter. She looked exactly the same as before. Same outfit, same hair, same name tag. "Welcome, Mr. Langston. Room 12, right?" I blinked. "You remember me?" She laughed, but her eyes didn't. "Of course. You've always stayed here." I looked down. The key in my hand wasn't old. It was brand new, shiny, polished, and the key tag didn't say 12. It said 1. The hallway was different now, shorter, warmer. All the room doors were gone, just one at the end. Room 1. I walked toward it. Each step felt heavier than the last. The carpet seemed to soften, like I was walking on muscle. At the door I hesitated, then turned the key. Inside was a replica of my childhood bedroom. Same posters, same creaky wooden desk, same pale green walls, and in the bed, a boy, small, curled up under the sheets. I moved closer. He didn't stir, but I already knew who it was. It was me. The boy opened his eyes slowly, looked at me. "It took you long enough." I couldn't speak. "You left me here," he said. "You made me forget. You made us forget." His voice became layered, more than one tone speaking at once, and from under the bed, the whispering returned. Louder this time, angry, desperate. He ran. He hid. He buried us. He locked the door. He became someone else. The boy stood, walked toward me, and his face split open. Not with blood, with memories. I saw flashes, burning rooms, screaming mouths, a woman's hand reaching through flames, a brother's voice, a child's grave, a trapdoor I had nailed shut myself. "You know now," the boy said, voice like broken glass. "What you did." I stumbled back, clutching my head. I don't remember. That's the point. Then, the room dissolved, and I was in the motel lobby again. Only this time, no one was there. No woman. No bell. No exit. Just hallway after hallway of doors. Thousands of them. Each with my name on it. Each whispering, "Come back. Remember, we're still here."
I walked. There was nothing else to do. Hallway after hallway, door after door, each one bearing my name, each one with a different year etched beneath it. 1987, 1988, 1989. They weren't room numbers, they were memories. I tried the first door, 2002. The handle burned in my palm, but it opened. Inside, a hospital room. The lights flickered, the air reeked of iodine and despair. My mother lay on the bed, pale, frail, dying. I hadn't visited her in months. I remember the guilt now, the lies I told to excuse my absence. She opened her eyes. "You said you'd come. You promised." I stumbled backward, and the walls shifted. The room morphed into a basement. Dark, wet, a workbench in the center, and a child's toy sitting on it, broken. I remembered this. I broke my brother's toy. He cried for hours. I told my father he did it himself. And I watched him take the blame. I watched him get hit for it. I was 5. The door slammed behind me. I ran back into the hallway, panting. More doors now, more names. Not just mine, the names of everyone I'd ever known. Friends I betrayed, strangers I ignored, people I hurt. And every door, every one, led to a memory I thought was dead. The hallway began to twist. Ceilings became floors, floors became walls. Gravity bent around me like a noose. From somewhere behind, the whispers were no longer whispers. They were footsteps. Something was chasing me, not fast, just steady, rhythmic, patient. Come back. Remember. Confess. I picked a door at random, 1987, and I saw the fire. My childhood home, flames crawling up the walls, screaming. But not mine, my brother's. He didn't make it out, or maybe I didn't try hard enough. Maybe I shut the door, maybe I ran. The fire licked at my heels. I fell through the floor and landed back in the motel lobby. Only now it was completely dark. No windows, no lights, just a single mirror. I looked inside, and it wasn't me staring back. It was the boy again, the younger me. But he looked older now, smiling. Behind him, a shadow, a shape with no face, only a mouth, whispering. Time's almost up. The whispering stopped. Just like that. The silence that followed was even worse, heavy, pressing, like the motel itself was listening. I stepped closer to the mirror. My reflection didn't move. It just stood there, watching. Until it spoke. You buried the truth. Its mouth didn't move. You locked us down there. You turned away. But we waited. I backed away, but the room didn't give me space. The mirror followed me, sliding across the floor like it was alive. It's time to go back. The mirror melted, literally, dripping like black tar onto the floor. And underneath was a hatch. Rusty. Wooden. Familiar. Just like the one in the backyard of our old house, the one I swore never to open again. But it opened on its own. The smell hit me first. Rot, dirt, ashes. Then the stairs appeared. I climbed down. Each step creaked under my weight. Each breath felt heavier. At the bottom, a basement, a graveyard of my memories. There were shelves lined with things I'd forgotten, my brother's baseball glove, a photo of my mother smiling, a bloodied shoe. In the center, a chair, and sitting in it, him. He looked like me, older, hollowed out, eyes like cracked glass. He didn't look up. You finally came back, he rasped. I couldn't speak. You think I don't remember? You left me down here, locked with them. With who? I managed. The shadows in the corners moved, not people, not things, shapes, faces blurred, mouths open, all whispering, all accusing. You let it happen. You could have saved us. You chose yourself. The man in the chair stood. He pointed at the far wall. There was a door, old, splintered. Behind it, I heard something, crying. Not human, animal, raw. Something I hadn't heard since that night in the fire. Go, he said, if you ever want out. What's behind it? He smiled. Everything you never wanted to know. I walked to the door. My hand trembled as I reached for the knob, and just before I turned it, the whispering stopped again, but this time I heard my own voice. Don't. Чудово, ось так part Darwin. Із Деси, найнапруженіша частина. Ми майже на фіналі. Part 9, what waits beyond? I opened the door, slowly, carefully, as if the air behind it might maigute. A wave of heat poured out, choking, like I'd stepped into a furnace filled with screams, but what I saw was a room. Just a room, but wrong. The walls were pulsing, like breathing skin. The floor rippled like water, but it was dry. And in the center, a bud cradle. I moved toward it, step by step. Every whisper from my past returned. My mother crying, my father shouting, the night the house burned, the thing in the woods, all of it. And as I reached the cradle, I looked down and saw myself. Small, innocent, sleeping. Then its eyes snapped open, pitch black. It screamed. Not a baby's cry, 1,000 voices, all but mine. All screaming what I never said out loud. I lied. I forgot on purpose. I let them die. The room shattered, walls exploded into ash, the cradle burned, and I was falling. Through memories, I landed in the motel hallway, only now it was full of people, dead-eyed, pale, each one whispering, my name. Not calling it. Blaming. I tried to run, but the floor dragged at my feet, the ceiling dripped blood, doors slammed around me, until I reached the front desk, and the old woman was back, smiling. You're ready to check out now? I nodded. I was done running. She handed me a key. No number, just a blank tag. I turned to find the exit, but instead I saw a mirror. And in it, not me, but the thing. From the cradle, all grown up, wearing my face, it stepped forward, out of the mirror, and whispered, You forgot one thing. I blinked. What? You never left. Elle opened the door, slowly, carefully, as if the air behind it might bite. A wave of heat poured out, choking, like I'd stepped into a furnace filled with screams, but what I saw was a room. Just a room, but wrong. The walls were pulsing, like breathing skin. The floor rippled like water, but it was cut dry. And in the center, a color cradle. I moved toward it, step by step. Every whisper from my past returned, my mother crying, my father shouting. The night the house burned, the thing in the woods, all of it. And as I reached the cradle, I looked down and saw a myself. Small, innocent, sleeping. Then its eyes snapped open, pitch black. It gnawed, screamed. Not a baby's cry, 1,000 voices, all but mine. All screaming what I never said out loud. I lied. I forgot on purpose. I let them die. The room shattered, walls exploded into ash, the cradle burned, and I was falling, through memories. I landed in the motel hallway, only now it was full of people, dead-eyed, pale, each one whispering, my name. Not calling it. Blaming. I tried to run, but the floor dragged at my feet, the ceiling dripped blood, doors slammed around me, until I reached the front desk, and the old woman was back, smiling. You're ready to check out now? I nodded. I was done running. She handed me a key. No number, just a blank tag. I turned to find the exit, but instead I saw a mirror. And in it, not me, but the thing from the cradle, all grown up, wearing my face. It stepped forward, out of the mirror, and whispered, You forgot one thing. I blinked. What? You never left. I woke up to complete silence. No wind, no birds, just the faint sound of wood creaking under pressure. The cabin groaned like it was alive, breathing through its old bones. I sat up, my back stiff and sore from the hard floor. The chair I had barricaded the door with, it was on the other side of the room, and the door was wide open. I froze. I know I didn't move it. I know I didn't sleepwalk. Something, or someone, had come in while I slept. My heart hammered against my ribs as I scanned the room. Nothing seemed touched, yet everything felt wrong. The cabin didn't feel abandoned anymore. It felt occupied. I stood slowly, my breath caught in my throat. I reached for the knife I had tucked under my shirt before sleeping. Still there, still cold, still my only defense. I crept toward the open door, my feet barely making a sound against the old wood. Outside, the forest was shrouded in a dense grey fog, and in the distance, barely visible, a figure stood beneath a dead tree. Still, facing me, I stepped back into the cabin instinctively, and the door slammed shut on its own. My blood turned to ice. I grabbed the handle, pulled, locked. I hadn't locked it. I never even had the chance. Behind me, something moved. A breath, right by my ear. I spun around and slashed with the knife, but there was nothing, just empty air. No, not empty, charged. The room pulsed with something I couldn't see. And then I heard it again. The same whisper I had heard the first night. You're mine now. The voice was low, hoarse, like dry leaves scraping across a coffin lid. Suddenly, the fireplace ignited with a loud whoosh, flames erupting unnaturally high, casting long shadows that danced across the walls. In the fire, I saw images, not wood burning, faces, twisted, screaming faces, reaching out, burning. I stumbled back, my head spinning. The room was changing, walls stretched, the ceiling warped. It was like the cabin was swallowing itself. Or me. I screamed and threw open the window, crawling through it desperately. I hit the ground hard and ran into the trees without looking back. The fog was thicker now, but I didn't care. I just needed to get away from that place. I ran until my legs gave out. And when I looked up again, the cabin was in front of me. Again.